Peekaboo. Listen, it's time. The trial of the century is upon us, and we covering it today. Now, I know I'm not at the courthouse, but I ain't new to this. I'm true to this, and we're going to have a good time as well as just ride this train together, okay? And with that being said, if you are in the replay, go ahead and skip ahead about 6.5 minutes. I'll meet you there. If you're in the chat or in the bushes, give me a little room here. Give me a little room to cook. But hang tight, be patient, and I will be right back. A helping hand to your fellow man. All right, y'all, hang tight. Give me a couple minutes. Peace, world, peace. Welcome back to Goddess Dawn Speaks. I am Goddess Dawn. Yes, that's right. She is me. And we are here. We're live. It is day 5, technically, of this Diddy trial. Some say day 1, because, honey, it went down, okay? And we're going to get into it, straight into the courtroom live tweets like we in the courtroom ourselves. That's what we're going to do. I also have some odds and ends that I want to share. And yeah, we just going to get into it nice and easy, just like that. But I'm getting a couple things still in order. Give me 1 second. And we'll be right into things. Let me just get my stuff that I need together. Appreciate your patience. Yeah, they say he in that Bible, child. Diddy said, what they talking about? They ain't talking about nothing. They ain't talking about nothing. There's a lot of activity going on outside that courthouse. But you know what? Let me go back because I didn't finish my intro, nor did I greet my people. And we cannot start the live without that and those facts of the matters. Now, like I said, $1 trillion goddess, Goddess Dawn Speaks, Queen of Info, whatever you want to call me, just make sure it's on that level, okay? Make sure you on that vibe, on that frequency, because otherwise I don't hear you. You ain't talking about nothing, okay? Thank you for your patience to y'all in the chat. I see Faye Crosslink popped up in here. UK Faye. Shout out to UK Faye. Wow, Wayne, as always, holding it down, sir. I appreciate you, and thank you for putting up that Cash App. You know, these Pacer documents ain't free, and I will take all the support that I can get, all right? Shout out to the Black Letter Law. Yes, she said, thank you for the coverage with a question mark. She's like, I'm not sure if you're really covering this or if you just sitting there talking to yourself, but thank you anyway. Michelle, my Ohio queen, is here. Yeah, she says she's here for all the tea. And on top of that, guilty, please, pate. That's the only party Michelle says she's interested in is a guilty party. What is a freak off? Okay. Yeah, she said hello to everybody. Thank you for the bells. Thank you. Nia X, what's going on? Nia X popped in. Speaking of Nia X, your profile picture, child, you can see that's Tory Lanez and his bald top of the head. Now, did y'all see that Tory Lanez was actually, I don't even know if I can say the word on YouTube. He was poked. He was poked in prison, apparently this morning. And they had to rush him to the hospital. Now, that's not good. A lot of people online are saying it's karma. They saying, you know, well, what did you expect? I even seen somebody ask, did he get stabbed in his motherfucking feet? Okay. But, you know, I don't want to wish no extras on nobody. You know? However, we don't know what in hightail, what is Tory Lanez up to while he's behind in bars? Is he a mad shit talker? Is he one of them people who thinks he needs to automatically just give respect on GP because of his name in the streets of rap, because of who he is in these blogs and all the supporters that he has? Is he walking around peacocking, or did he get caught up in some gang affiliations situations? We don't know what happened. Could have just been a hater. Maybe he got something on his head, because sometimes it be like that. Listen, it's called clout chasing. But anyway, you know, hoping and wishing for a speedy recovery for him. And may he get back to the hole in the wall he was in so he could finish serving that time that he earned. Okay? Now, with that being said, let's get back to P. Diddly D. He ends in the courtroom. They said he had the Bible up to his eyeballs. Okay. He's up to his eyeballs in Bible verses. And he gonna need all the help he could get outside of that so-called dream team, that nightmare team they say that he working with. But we're gonna get into everything that went down today in court. Yeah. But before we do, let's talk about who was there. The kids were there. Diddy's kids all showed up together, as you can see on the screen. Got the twins and Christian Combs in black. Wow. Baby girl Chance is in white. And then we have Quincy leading the way, and looks like some type of a blue or green colored fit. Now, what does this mean? Hell if I know. Probably nothing. I just thought it was interesting that Chance came. She's in white like an angel. Then we have the twins and Christian, kind of like, you know what? What our dad did, he did. Okay. And he made us who we are today. And we standing on all the business because we Combs' kids. Okay, maybe not. Maybe they're just putting on whatever is clean and marching in the court, looking like respectable young people. All right. I'm going to give them that. And we got this courtroom sketch of Diddy giving hearts to his family with his hands, with his little slide look. Hey, is that to his mama? Is that to his mama? Now, before I get into the court, I want to just show a really quick court entrance video that has people scratching their heads. And by people, I mean me. I'm like, what is happening here? Let me pull that up real quick, and then we will get into it as promised. You know I'm not going to leave you hanging for too long. Let me just remember where the hell I even saved this thing. Saving things like crazy today. And yeah, there's an interesting bunch of reporters on the scene. You know what I'm saying? We got Jaguar Wright is front and center. Armand Wiggins, I saw he was reporting from the courthouse, and he was actually trying to interview Jag. Tisa Tells is there. So we got a lot on the ground serving it up, okay? But yeah, it was very interesting to see the family come to put a pause on Misa Hilton. Let me take this picture down so y'all can see. Why is Misa Hilton on a walker? Injured. She's on the injured list, y'all. I wonder what happened. Someone behind her with a very heavy wig on. I think maybe even purposely covering her eyes with her bangs. And then behind her, is that Dana Tran, the mother of Love? She looks familiar. I'm not positive. Black. Then we got Justin, looking like a college prep boy. Wait, is his mustache blonde? Or are my eyes deceiving me?
Pray to the Most High Jesus Christ.
You got people back there preaching.
Pray to God.
There's Christian Combs looking very frail. I mean, I think he's always been pretty lean, but he definitely looks very thin.
Pray to God. Seek his face. Like he said.
There's Mama Combs. Now, I had seen it was reported that Mama Combs was actually on the walker, but no, that was actually Misa. Mama Combs got updated. She zhuzhed up her wig. And then Chance is behind her. Chance has a whole grip, a hard grip on that arm, helping Grandma out.
Inside court.
And then the other, I can't tell the twins apart. So then we have the other Combs twin and their brother Quincy. He got right past. And I'm pretty sure bodyguards are all around them. But yeah, so is the walker just extra or what? I mean, is that really necessary to? And she's supposed to be the stylist of the family, the style icon here, Miss Misa Hilton. What's going on? I don't know. I can't tell. Can't tell. But let's see, what else do I have before we get started?
How was he doing?
I think that was a previous day. Okay. I think for now, that's all I'm going to show. Well, actually, no. So we have the family here. And then, according to this reporter, it's packed outside.
It is day one of Diddy Combs trial. And we are.
See, she's calling it day one. Technically, jury selection or voir dire, the process of, counts as the trial. But I do hear what she's saying. She's counting day one as the day of opening arguments and also witness testimony, which we have today.
We are here outside of the courthouse in downtown Manhattan. Now, before we get into what we are going to expect in court today, I just want to tell you guys, this is the most insane line I have ever seen at a courthouse. And I have covered many high-profile trials. So that just really underscores the level of interest in this trial. Let's the line. I want to show you. So this is where we will enter in court. And you will see people have been lining up since last night. Actually, yesterday afternoon, since 2 p.m. So people more than 24 hours. This just goes on and on and on. Now, this is hundreds and hundreds of people. Let's just, let's just keep going. My producer Sabrina is going to turn this now to show you the actual line. This is insane. I have truly never seen anything like this at court. It is day one of the Sean Diddy Combs. We're here.
It is a big deal. This situation, it is a red alarm situation, okay? And we're going to just jump right on into court. Let's do that. Let me come and see if Nia. Juti said, I'm sure there are no verses in his Bible. You don't think that's a real Bible? He has a cover over it, huh? Says Bible. On the inside, what is he reading instead? Some debauchery. Okay. As always, big shout out to Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press for his stellar coverage. I mean, of course, he's not getting everything verbatim, but he does have the credentials to be able to report from the courthouse and on Twitter, at least. And there may be other people reporting on Twitter. If you know of anybody else that gives us any additional extras, bells or whistles that we might be looking for, let me know, child. But in the meantime, we follow Matthew Russell Lee from Inner City Press, who is live and in person in the courthouse with all of the goings on. And he's letting us know from his fingertips to our eyes, okay? So he starts reporting at 8:37 a.m. Eastern time. He says Sean Combs has still not been brought into the courtroom. The lawyers are milling around. Brian Steele comes up to AUSA Maureen Comey and shakes hands like a fanboy. Agnifilo and Alexandra Shapiro conferring. And he says, first step, preemptory challenges to 45 prospective jurors. So remember, last we left Friday, they decided to wait to do the final juror cuts until Monday before opening arguments. The prosecution wasn't too thrilled with that, and they fought it. And in thinking about it and also listening to other reports, I'm thinking it could have been a play for the defense to be able to do more digging into the jurors' social medias and whatnot, because, this is something that is going to make or break it for them, the jurors. and they need to make sure they don't have any moles inside of there. Somebody who really hates Diddy, or, you know, just really is against Diddy, trying to come off as if they're neutral or as if they're, you know, able to be fair. That'd be like me trying to go into the jury and then stupidly telling them my actual YouTube channel and them coming and hearing me and my commentary and like, is she serious right now? Does she really think we want her on this jury? So nevertheless, they had a whole extra weekend to do the research that they needed to make sure they get the jurors that they really, really want. So moving ahead at 8:53 a.m., Sean Combs is now in the courtroom wearing a light sweater instead of last week's dark blue. He turns and blows a kiss to family members in the second row of the galley. So I thought he was able to change daily. So he has an outfit per week. Is that what it is? I think he had about 5 different rotations of sweaters and shirts and maybe ties, slacks. But so he's wearing the blue, dark blue was last week, and now we're wearing light blue. Okay. At 8:56 a.m., the clerk says, "Are the parties ready?" They say yes. The clerk says, "Mr. Combs, were you able to get some water? We'll make arrangements for that." Judge Subramanian says, has still not come into the courtroom at this. At 9:03 a.m., Agnifilo and Tinny Garagos are poring over papers, presumably for preemptory challenges to prospective jurors. Combs is wearing reading glasses, also looking down at papers. 3 of the 6 prosecutors are looking at or typing on their cell phones. That's interesting. So they got the defense is over there pouring over papers, and I get a sense that it's a little unorganized, and they're just like rattling through a bunch of papers while the prosecution is using their devices. And I'm wondering if they're working with the team outside of the courtroom, of, you know, that they're working with and getting information through their phones. So he's in his light blue sweater. Let's put him up in his light blue, giving the hearts while we go through this court procession. So at 9:26 a.m., Combs' lawyer, Agnifilo, and prosecutor Maureen Comey are the ones in with Judge Subramanian, presumably doing the peremptory strikes to in NYS court. This is all done in public in the courtroom on the record. Wait for announcement of jurors. Okay, at 9:34 a.m. it says, and we're off. Judge Subramanian says, "Good morning. We are here for peremptory challenges." Prosecutor Comey says, "We strike juror 51. Agnifilo says, "We strike 52 and 106. Comey said, "We strike 216. Agnifilo says, 157 and 112. Comey says, "We strike 118. Agnifilo says, "We strike 127 and 131. They came in hot, right? AUSA Comey says, "We strike 81. Agnifilo says, "We strike 149 and 20. Comey says, "We strike 161. Agnifilo says, "We strike 22 and 84. Comey says the defense was only supposed to strike 1 in this round. So we strike only 22. See, he's already pushing boundaries. Comey says we strike 163. Agnifilo says we strike 84. Comey goes on to say we strike 220. Agnifilo says we strike 25. Comey says, "I believe he was supposed to strike in the affirmative." Agnifilo says, "Give me a second." Confers with Nicole Westmoreland, and then says 218. Comey says we strike 324. Agnifilo says 240. Comey says we strike 281. Agnifilo says, "One moment." Agnifilo says, "I note that the government has struck 7 Black people out of 9 strikes." Wow. Subramanian says, I'll give you a chance to raise that, but let's continue. Basically, like, now that we have a spotlight on this, I'm gonna give you a chance to raise that number. Ignifilo says, we strike 307. Judge Subramanian says, our jurors 5, 25, 28, 55, 58, 75, 116, 160, 184, 201, 217, 230, 234, 247, 292, 321, and 330. Ignifilo says the U.S. struck 7 Black people, which amounts to a pattern. Judge says an application has been made under Batson. Ms. Comey says we're neutral. She says juror 51 knew 17 of the names appear to have seen making the band. Has a relative with law enforcement issues. The next strike, he harassed a police officer and didn't report it. His sister had an issue. This clears the bar. These are good reasons. Comey says, juror 81, we think they claim to have special knowledge of bipolar issues. 161, he said he watched the news about the case that morning. He said it was inevitable. He'd lose 30% of his income, but wants on. He has an agenda. Comey says, we struck 163, I believe, for cause, due to English proficiency. And he had a relative who shot a police officer. Among the alternates, we barred a person who went to Mr. Combs' high school. The next one, 324, has sleep apnea. Yeah, that's not going to work. Can't just be randomly falling asleep during the court proceeding. Okay, the prosecution goes on. He also called the police assholes. We struck him. And 281, she said victims can catch a case and jump on a bandwagon. We think she has an agenda. These easily clear Batson's bar. Judge Subramanian said, I deny the defense's Batson challenge. These were not based on purposeful discrimination. Mr. Ignifilo, anything more? Ignifilo says, nothing from us. He's like, I tried, damn. The judge said, we'll bring in the jury in a few minutes. Inner City Press. While we wait, Inner City Press has put up an extra about questionable fact lie that made it through the challenges. Interesting. So time has moved on. It's 10:17 a.m. The jurors are seated. Judge Arun Subramanian says, welcome back. This is U.S. versus Sean Combs. We will be providing lunch for you in the jury room. We will not release your names to the public. The clerk swears in the jurors, and then the judge goes on. Questions are not evidence. Only the answers given by the witnesses and the documents are evidence. You can consider circumstantial evidence, like someone walking in with a dripping umbrella. You can surmise it's raining outside, even if you don't see it. That a witness uses a pseudonym does not mean that their testimony is worthy of less weight. During the trial, do not read or view or listen to anything about this case, and don't post anything. Once the U.S. rests, the defense can present, should he choose to. Prosecution Johnson says, this is Sean Combs. To the public, he was a cultural icon, a businessman, larger than life. But there was another side to him. You will hear about 20 years of the defendant's crimes. He had a team to help him. Kidnapping, arson, drugs, sex crimes. Let's start with one night. He was on the hunt for his girlfriend, Cassie. He forced her to have sex with male escorts while he watched and recorded it. He found out Cassie was seeing another man. Furious, he set out to find Cassie and another man. He woke an employee to drive to the house, but no one was there. The defendant didn't give up. He kept looking for Cassie. When he found her, he beat her brutally, kicking her in the back and flinging her around like a rag doll. But it wasn't enough. He told Cassie he could release video of her having sex with male escorts. He broke into a man's house and he beat and blackmailed his girlfriend. These are not his only crimes. Cassie is not the only woman he beat and sexually exploited. 20 years of crimes. He had a business, Bad Boy Records, that made him right. He relied on his bodyguards, chiefs of staff, who ran all aspects of his life. The group promoted his power. His bodyguards kidnapped an employee and set a car on fire and dangled a person. They delivered drugs whenever he said, including to a woman he forced to have sex with an escort. He transported them across state lines and even out of the country. Let me be very clear. This case is not about a celebrity's private sexual preferences. This was criminal. He coerced and even used violence. A lot of this trial will focus on two women, Cassie and Jane. We will show that the defendant used lies, drugs, threats, and violence to force them to have sex with him in front of male escorts. He called them freak-offs, wild king nights, or hotel nights. His staff organized flights, cars, and hotels at his direction. His staff set up the room with lubricant and lighting. Staff came in with cash to pay the escorts and drugs. He made them take MDMA or Molly and ecstasy. It made them sick, but also sexually aroused. He directed every step. He expected the women to appear and enjoy themselves. He masturbated and recorded the events. Cassie was 19 with a hit song. Cassie tried to work on her music, but the defendant made her turn down many opportunities. She recorded, but he had the final say over the music she released. There was never another album. He hit Cassie in the head and dragged her by the hair. He stomped on Cassie's face in an SUV, then made her stay in a hotel for a week to hide her injuries. He set up freak-offs as often as once a week. She spent half of her time. The defendant made an escort urinate in her mouth. Jesus. Was that right? She spent half of her time. Okay. Now let me take a short little break and come over. Anybody have anything to say? Nia said, I'm out. I already know. Hey, Shamina, long time. Hi. Hey, Ray all day. Okay. Ray said, is Diddy guilty yet? From the opening argument, I would say yes. Yeah. Juti said he is, but it hasn't been ruled on yet. Okay. Juti said, how gross. I hope he has the same treatment in jail. Boom. Okay, let me get back to it. Prosecution is doing their opening argument for the Diddy trial, the U.S. versus Sean Diddy Combs. And they're up to bat. So the prosecution goes on. As you see in this trial, he beat her in the hallway of a hotel to drag her back into the freak-off. Initially, she wanted to make him happy, but then she didn't want to. But the defendant made her. The consequences were severe. He beat her when he thought she took too long in the bathroom. Defying him would end in violence. She fled, but he found her with the help of his inner circle. Cassie's career was in his hands. He told her he could destroy her career by releasing a video. When he said to have a freak off, she knew she had no choice. She called the escort and put on the performances he wanted. Her safety depended on keeping him happy. The relationship was complicated. Both were unfaithful, but only one of them had power. He made Cassie do his bidding in those dark hotel rooms. Cassie was not the only one. This was a pattern. Let me tell you about Jane. She was a single mom that started spending time with him in 2020. She fell in love with him. He was seeing other women. One night, he told Jane about freak-offs and made it happen immediately. He took her to a hotel where an escort was on the way. He directed her step by step. Jane thought it was a one-time wild night. She was wrong. He continued offering a real relationship. Jane wanted the escort to wear condoms, but the defendant did not let them. Jane tried to make it through these nights without drugs. The first time, she broke down and took ecstasy to finish. Another time, she vomited, but he said, "Go do it again." Jane found two men and invited them to join the freak-offs so she could choose the man she'd be intimate with. The defendant discouraged her from working. He had the power to coerce her back into the hotel rooms. He threatened her with the videos. Not even a year ago, he went to her house. She was angry. She hit him. She became enraged. She tried to hide. She locked herself in her bedroom. He kicked it open. Then the bathroom, the closet, the guest bedroom. He kicked her to the ground. He did not let Jane be. He said, "You're not going to F up my night." He said, "Call up an escort and perform." Jane followed his instructions. His violence got him what he wanted. Cassie will tell you about the time the defendant forced himself on her. Mia, an employee, will tell you how the defendant forces himself on her, hand up her dress, penetrating her. All this violence, he and his inner circle worked to cover up his crimes. The video at the LA hotel, you will hear just how far this went. The defendant offered a hotel security guard a wad of cash, a brown paper bag with $100,000 in $100 bills. The inner circle kept Cassie in hiding for days. For all of this, he is charged with multiple federal crimes, racketeering, conspiracy. So that's for all the people out there saying that Cassie tape don't mean nothing because he's not even charged with that. I saw a lot of those comments. Not true. The prosecution goes on to say, Cassie and Jane will tell you of the most painful experiences of their lives. You'll hear from some of the defendant's employees, including his personal assistant, Mia, who he sexually assaulted. He is grappling with it. She is grappling with it. Now, I'm wondering, is Mia a pseudonym? I'm thinking so. I'm wondering if Mia is KK. I don't know. Let's go on. You will hear from the employee he forced into an SUV with a GUN and from a chef. They worked punishing hours, at times without sleep. They brought drugs for him. They were expected to keep quiet. Some of these witnesses have already received settlements. You will also hear from some of the escorts that the defendant directed them and filmed it. An escort saw the defendant assault Cassie and drag her by her face during a freak-off. You'll see records from hotels and the damage and car services. You will see text messages in which the defendant tells staff to bring cash for escorts, and by Jane saying she did not want to do freak-offs. You will see videos. In them, you can hear the defendant provide direction to Cassie and Jane high on ecstasy. You will see a video of the defendant brutally beating Cassie during a freak-off in a LA hotel. You will see videos of the damage, including to 4 doors in Jane's home not even a year ago. You will see what he had in his home: GUNs, med bag of drugs, lube. You will see the agreement with the hotel guard barring him from speaking after he paid $100,000. He was paid. Well, let me read that. You will see the agreement with the hotel guard barring him from speaking after he paid $100,000 for the video. So it was a hotel guard who took that $100,000 to quiet down about that beating that took place. They say you will hear him manipulate Jane into saying she wanted it. His threats not to pay for her home. Okay, he threatened her not to pay for her home and text to his staff about it. I asked you to do three things. I ask you to do three things. Pay attention to the evidence, follow the judge's instructions on the law, use your common sense, and you will reach the verdict that Sean Combs is guilty. That was the opening argument. Let me see if y'all have any comments on that. Yep, already got settlements. People was already paid. That's probably another reason people weren't coming forward too. Like, man, I already got a payoff by this fool, but I do want him to pay for what he did. Okay, so now the defense is let's see what the defense is gonna do. Tenny Garagos is gonna be up for the defense. She says this case is about love and jealousy and money. They are trying to turn it into a racketeering case. It will not work. You are the jury. You will evaluate the witnesses, and finally, the story can come out. This case isn't about what you heard on the news. Sean Combs is fascinating. He grew up in Harlem and built lawful businesses. First of all, that's not even true. He didn't grow up in Harlem. He grew up in Mount Vernon. Okay, let me not interrupt. I'm gonna plow through this thing. So he grew up in Harlem and he built lawful businesses. He worked for it. He created a culture and produced music that changed a generation. Witnesses will share with you that he is a fascinating person and people are drawn to him. If you wanted to climb in music, apparel, or beverages, you wanted to be around Sean Combs. And there you have it. She done told the whole reason right here. You want to climb. So she's calling them social climbers. Okay. She said he gave people opportunities to work at his companies. He had a vision that few had. The witnesses mostly loved him. The text messages will show that. He is 55 years old. He is going to be Sean Combs. I'm Tenny Garagos. I'm honored to represent him. The only people in this courtroom who will tell you about racketeering are the prosecutors. There was no conspiracy. This case is about Sean Combs' private sex life. The government has no business in that. These hardworking individuals were educated from Harvard to Howard University. He has a temper and got violent. He's not proud of that. Own it. He's so jealous or angry, he's out of control. You will hear that he lied to his girlfriends. You may think he's a jerk or mean, but he's not tried for that. He's tried for running a racketeering enterprise. This is domestic violence. Domestic violence, and AUSA chimes in, domestic violence is not sex trafficking. He had been charged with domestic violence. He would not be sitting through an 8-week trial. He is not guilty of these crimes. As the trial goes on, we are going to take an accountability. We will not shy away. So he mistakenly put AUSA, so my bad. And then he corrects it down below. It's Tenny Garagos' turn up here. Diddy's defense, not AUSA. Okay, let's go on. Sean Combs had a bit of a different sex life. The alleged victims were all getting something from him. They are adults. They too must take on responsibility for their lives, as he does for his. A free choice has pros and cons. Well, okay, continue. You will evaluate these women. They made free choices every day for years. Ask yourself, what are all the ways this individual had the ability to make these choices? Ask, what is this person getting? Something they want. It may differ. Jealousy drove choices of the victims. Combs never married, but he is a many-woman man. He is always in multiple relationships. He was not always honest. It drove a primal jealousy. Sean Combs is extremely jealous. You might think it's hypocritical. They remained in multi-year relationships with him. These women were in love with him. Infidelity and jealousy drove the violence. Alcohol and drugs drove things, but he is not a racketeer. This case is about his relationships with Cassie and Jane. You will hear about swinger parties. They will testify about things that should never be heard in a federal courtroom that he'd like to watch. You may not like that, but you are not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. A wealthy rapper paid for these women's homes and vacations. He is not charged with being a flawed individual. These women fought to be in a relationship with him. Cassie, I expect you will hear from her this week about her 11-year relationship. Combs with Kim Porter, the mother of 4 of his children. He continued with her until her death from pneumonia in 2018. How dare they? His fights with Cassie were about cheating. It was a relationship. They loved each other. Cassie will tell you about the jealousy of Kim Porter. Then Gina. The day of the hotel hallway, jealousy was on display. Violence by the elevator bank 10 years ago. You will see it later today. What Combs did is indefensible. They're trying to get ahead of that tape. The video is not evidence of sex trafficking. Cassie walked out of the hotel room with 2 bags. And from what I understand, a security escort as well. Combs comes down wearing only a towel. He stomps her and drags her by the hoodie. He comes back around to get a phone. What causes a fight about a phone? Phones keep the secrets of infidelity. As soon as the phone, he sits down. He's visibly disgusted. Cassie calls security. You will hear from him later today. The guard tells him to leave the public area. You will see Cassie telling him to get back to the hotel room. Then stay together 2 more years after this incident. Even into 2018, they are fighting to stay together. She saw a photo of Combs with Gina. He started with her in 2014. Cassie had a choice every single day to stay with him. That was her better choice until she broke up with him. She was not coerced. When she left, there were no repercussions. She ran into the arms of a physical trainer Combs had hired to train her. The only freak-offs you will see at this trial were on her phone, not his. In November of 2018, Kim Porter passes away from pneumonia. Cassie did everything to be there for him. She flew to Georgia amidst a breakup. She flew there to be with him. Combs said, Kim was my soulmate. The end of the relationship between Combs and Cassie was triggered by that. Cassie realized all the things she would not be. She wanted to be Combs' wife, the love of his life. She spent 11 years trying to get that. I find it interesting, just a small little sidebar, that the defense, they have a lot of information about Kim and how they were this and they were that. But I'm wondering, is this going to open the door? Or I guess the opening arguments are not the same as the questioning on the stand, because if these things were actually on the stand question answers, it could open the door for them to show that the relationship with Kim was not all that they're making it out to be. And there's plenty of evidence of that all over the internet. And there's people also who have witnessed a lot of things. Okay, so they're saying that Cassie wanted to be Kim, basically. And of course, she doesn't want to be Kim because she wouldn't be here if that was the case. So it says Cassie married the trainer and is pregnant with her 3rd child. Evaluate Combs' intent at the time for those 11 years. The messages will show she was a willing participant in their sex life. Cassie's testimony this week can't change that. Yeah, they're like, don't listen to anything this lady has to say. In 2020 with Jane, Combs was more upfront. He told her he was dating other women. She was still jealous. Jane wanted it public. He proposed a consensual threesome. They went to a private hotel. I expect her to say she enjoyed it. Are they talking about Young Miami? They're not talking about Young Miami, are they? Tinique Aragos goes on. Jane was desperate to be with him, to give him things others couldn't. She tried to make it more than sexual. I'm not sure how she will put it. But it always came back to parties in their hotel rooms. This was their time together. Jane did it for the cuddle. She wanted to make him happy. She was unable to resist him emotionally. There was a phone call in November 2023. Even after it, she flew out to see him many more times. It was toxic, but she was willing. Being a willing participant in your sex life is not sex trafficking. If she'd walked away, she would have lost him. You will see her jealousy. She would see him on social media with another woman, and she would send messages of regret. It is not coerced. She was driven to try to be in first place. Oh, okay. She was driven to try to be in first place. This was the way to try to get there. That's not a crime. There was the night a year ago when Jane hit Combs. It was born out of jealousy. He hit her back. She was overcome by jealousy. She slammed his head. She slammed his head onto her kitchen counter. Months later, she flew to see him and invited an escort. She will call it one of her best nights, a wild king night, whatever you want to call it. This will be hard to watch. They are, in one word, intimate. Oh, shoot. They got to watch that? The government told you about someone named Mia. Why are they making these allegations now? You will conclude that everyone has a motive. With Mia, she never said it before, nor when she first started cooperating with the government. If this was so hostile, why did they not call the police? They are vindictive. Their motive is simple: money. Cassie filed a public lawsuit in November of 2023. She was living in her parents' modest home in Connecticut. She went to a civil lawyer. The civil lawyer is here today. They went to civil lawyers to make a money grab. Cassie demanded $30 million. Another asked for $22 million. How many millions of these witnesses have to lie? The evidence will not make out the charges. Bribery is about the Intercontinental Hotel. He paid a security guard to make the footage go away. This was solely to prevent bad publicity for Combs and Cassie. There was no law enforcement investigation. The kidnapping related to an employee. She worked for him for 10 years. She asked to work for him again. Drug trafficking. It was personal use. They worked hard. They were there to do something great and novel. It was a free choice. There was no conspiracy. He was paying different men for their time and experience. Porn actors are paid. Hulkamania, cowboys for angels. You can pay money for time and an experience. That is what Sean Combs was doing. You are not here to impose your morality on this man. If you listen, you will find him not guilty of these crimes. Thank you. Okay, so then the judge takes a lunch break, and the reporter in the courtroom says, with jury out, Brian Steele, so he's still looking around and listening to the attorneys. He said, Brian Steele, who is, remember Young Thug's old attorney who came on to Diddy's team recently, like within the last couple of weeks. He said, we will be objecting to 2 exhibits. The judge said, in the future, I'd like to hear this the day before. The prosecution said, we only learned they objected. This is about an incident report about the hotel hallway, broken vase. The report has an addendum. Brian Steele said, in the 3rd paragraph, he writes that he did not want Mr. Combs to see Cassie out in front. He talks about a co-worker, ADEY, that Mr. Combs is about to yell. That is speculation and should not go in. The judge said, Ms. Slavic, please pass up the exhibits. And then he said it's adjourned with extras adjourned with extras like on X. Okay. After lunch break, let me come over, see what y'all talking about. Let me see. Juti said that was kind of mild, the mild opening in your opinion. On both sides, or one side was more mild than the other? You said I would have been spitting fire. Okay. Michelle said, don't be going easy on Puffish guilty, y'all. Can't buy your way out of this mess. Ray Ray said, wow, they mentioned Gina in opening arguments and not victim 3. Exactly. But remember, they were telling us Gina wanted to use her name as well. So I don't know if that, if that correlates. Yeah, we're not sure if victim 3 is going to make her appearance or not yet. Oh, look at them saying we didn't see what we saw with our own eyes. Dragged her by the hoodie. What about the kick in the head? Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to downplay it. I thought it might be Young Miami as well. Right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm getting Young Miami vibes from talking about this this other victim witness. Maybe they're talking about Joey Chavez. She was? No way. I would hope she's not involved in this mess. Okay, thanks for the bells, Wild Wayne. Okay, so when you are famous, you can experience prostitution. It's not illegal. Okay, got it, Satan. You can experience so many things, whether they're legal or not. If you're rich and famous, right? All right. Well, they're back from lunch. Let's get on into it. It's 1:22 p.m. Eastern. The reporter said they're back, or nearly all of them. The judge says, in terms of the objection, and the defense says, we're still waiting for the defendant. The judge said, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. Combs is then brought in. The judge says one exhibit objected to, subject to the U.S. laying the proper foundation. It is admissible. It is admissible as long as they lay the proper foundation, the judge says. So they lose again. The defense loses again. Sit down, Brian Steele. This is not the Young Thug trial, child. This is federal court. Sit down. In New York at that. Okay. The judge says the exhibit with one added note, the objection is well taken. It is excluded. Let's get the jury back in. The objection is well taken. It is excluded. The exhibit with the added. Oh, okay. So there was another exhibit they were objecting to, and they're excluding that one. It has a addendum to the initial report, and the judge is excluding that. And I want to know what the addendum said. All right. So the judge says, all rise. The jury enters. The government is the government ready to call its first witness? And they say, first, we enter 4 exhibits. Ignifilo says no objection. They say, we call LAPD officer Israel Flores. He is sworn. Flores comes in and he says, I'm also a reservist for the Army. I was a guard with Securitas in 2016 in the Intercontinental Hotel near Century City. So the prosecution asked him, what happened in March 5th of 2016? Flores says, I was told of the 6th floor. There, I recognized Sean Combs. He is there wearing a gray sweater. Prosecution says, what was your title? Flores says, Assistant Director of Security. Prosecution says, let me show you a photo of the Intercontinental Hotel. Flores says, it's shaped like a pyramid. And the judge says it's admitted. The prosecution asks, what kind of incidents did you respond to? Flores kinds. We had a couple of suicides, self-unalivings there. We prepare incidents reports for the 5 Ws. Prosecution asked, would you attach photos to the reports? And he said, yes, but not video. We didn't have the password. Prosecution asked, when did this incident take place? Flores says, 11 a.m. I got report of a woman in distress on the 6th floor. I closed the security base and checked the cameras. There was an African-American man pacing back and forth. I didn't see a female. I rushed there. What did you see on the 6th floor? Mr. Combs in a towel and some like colored socks. He's a rapper, producer, and Cassie on the floor. Prosecution says, let me show you photos. And it says Combs in a tuxedo and in a separate photo, Cassie Ventura smiling. Prosecution asks, what did you tell them? Flores said, that is they were arguing they'd have to take it back to their room. Oh, probably if they're arguing. If they're arguing, they'd have to take it back to the room. And that the broken vase would be charged to the room. Cassie says she wanted her phone and her bag. Flores said, Miss Cassie says she wanted to leave. Mr. Combs said, you're not leaving. I saw inside the room a male black wearing dark clothing. Prosecution asked, what did Mr. Combs do after Cassie left? Flores said he called for me. He was holding a stack of money, not to tell anyone. Oh, shoot. Okay, let me, okay, they want to know, what did you say? Flores said, I said, I don't want your money. The damage is going to be charged to your room. And then the prosecution said, where did Cassie go? Flores said, after I spoke with her, she left. A car pulled up. She left in a black SUV. Was there a driver? Flores said 7 feet. He said she wants to leave. I said, I'm talking to her, not you. And then they left. What? He said 7 feet. Prosecution asked, then what? Flores said, we went up to Mr. Combs' room to remind him of the hotel rules. He opens the door and grabs the phone and says, are you recording me? I pinned him to the wall. Did he mean he pinned him to the wall, or he's saying he pinned Diddy to the wall? Flores said, I took photos of the broken vase to tell him to come clean it up. I went to write the incident report. AUSA said, is this it? Flores said, my report with my name on it. The defense said, same objection. The judge said, noted. And then the prosecution asked, then did you review the video? And then Flores said, yes. AUSA says, I'm handing you a thumb drive with videos. So they show the video. It says video shown. And the prosecution said, did it have audio? He said, no. Said, let's walk through it. Who is this? Cassie. And this? Mr. Combs. What's happening here? She picked up the wall phone. What did you find when you got there? The broken vase. What is at the end of this video? Me coming out of the elevator. Let's pull up the incident report again. Flores said, here we reminded him that the checkout time was approaching. What did you add to the incident report after you reviewed the video? Flores said, I described what I saw in the video. And they asked him, what else did you do with the video? He said, I recorded 2 videos of it with my iPhone to show my wife at home. Wow. So he did that so this is what he does at work. Basically goes home and tells his wife all the tea. We need the wife to come in. That's what we really need. All right. So the reporter says Flores' video is off of the video with his voiceover, including about how shiny his shoes were, is played for the jury. Prosecution said, did you work the next day? Flores said, no, I had the next 2 days off. And they asked him, when you came back in, did you look for the video? He said, I did. He said, but it was gone. And so the government said, did you ever see it again? And he said, yes, recently. And the government said, Judge Subterranean said, cross-examination. And here comes Brian Steele. I guess they said, Brian, we're going to give you the lead on the cross exams. All right. So Brian Steele says, you said your report was the 5 W's, right? Flores said yes. Still said, you mentioned that when you get off the elevator, 11:14 or 11:15, you described Mr. Combs as having a devilish expression on his face. Flores said, that's my opinion. Still said, when you get off the elevator, what's in your hand? Flores said, my radio. And Brian Still says, Mr. Combs did not attack you, did he? Flores said, no. Still said, and was there any law enforcement involvement? Flores said, no. Still said, you videoed for your wife and kept it, right? Flores said, I did. Still said, but never was a law enforcement call? Flores said, they were not. Still said, you told the jury, Mr. Combs said to Cassie, you're not leaving. But your report did not say that, right? Flores said, at that point, I did not believe it was a significant fact. I'm not going to put down the back and forth. So Brian Still says, so it wasn't important 9 years ago, but only now? The government objects. The judge says, overruled. Flores says, I did not put it in the report at the time. Still said, you were offered a bribe, but hadn't you told him he had to pay for the vase? Flores said, yes. Still said, the gentleman you say you saw in the room, you described to the jury things not in your report. Flores said, he didn't engage. Still said, why didn't you ask him his name? Flores said, he wasn't talking to no one. Still said, did you tell anyone at the time? Flores said, no. Still said, and the 7-foot driver, do you know who it was? Flores said, I don't know, but Cassie knew him. Still said, you didn't put it in your report that you offered to call law enforcement, but she refused. Why not? Flores said, she said no. There was no reason to include it. Still said, you put Mr. Combs against the wall. Okay, he said, you said you put Mr. Combs against the wall. That's aggressive, isn't it? Flores said, it could be, but I only put my arm against his chest. Still said, but you didn't put that in your report. Flores said, you're asking me to have put more detail in my report. Still said, do you remember the layout? Flores said, no, just a corner room. Still said, was it a normal hotel room, like I would say stay in just one room, or did it have a living room? Flores said, I don't know. The third party, you said he was on a bed. Flores said, it was a pullout. So you were in the hospitality business as well as security, right? Flores said, yes. Mr. Combs, it was clear to you that he wanted to pay for the damage, right? The government objects, calls for speculation. The judge says, ask in a different way. Still said, it can be embarrassing for a guest. AUSA objects. The judge says, sustained. Still says, one moment. Nothing further. He couldn't get past them. You can't get past the feds, child, in their case, their RICO case. So the judge is asking if the government wants to redirect, because they do get an opportunity to come up and kind of, I guess, gain their ground again if anything got a little rocked during the cross-examination. So the government comes back up and wait a minute. So the government comes back up. They say, did you typically include every single detail in a report? Flores. And then they said, did he seem drunk or high? Flores said, no. The government said, when he offered you money, what did he say? Flores said that he didn't want anyone to know about it, pretty much. The government said, which way Mr. Combs was Mr. Combs dragging Cassie? Flores said, back towards the room. And the government says nothing further. The judge asks if there's a recross. Still says, there are motion sensitive cameras, so there are gaps, right? Flores said, yes. Still says nothing further. The judge says, next witness, AUSA Comey, says, what did Miss Ventura pay you for? The witness says to have sex with her. Sean Combs was there too. Child, they got the S worker up here now. Let me come over and see if y'all have any comments. Let me see. Juti said they keep on losing. They better get used to it. Michelle said not getting away for nothing for sure. Thank you for the bells. Yes. We need these bells. They moving pretty fast. I mean, according to the tweets at least. So let's get back to it. So the witness is up on the stand, the S worker, okay, for the government. My boss called me and he said he couldn't find any of our black dancers. So could I go to a bachelorette party in the Gramercy Park Hotel in downtown Manhattan? The prosecution asked, what did you expect to do? He said, a little stripper dance. She was in the hotel room in a red stockings and sunglasses. She gave me a few $100s. Comey asked, what was the room like? The dancer said, red couches, Astroglide, a lubricant. There was a man on the right side of the room. The man had on a white robe and a bandana over his face, below his eyes, and baseball cap. From his voice, I recognized him as Sean Combs. He could try to hide all he want to, but we see you. Peekaboo. Prosecution said, what did he say? And they're referring to him as a male dancer here. Male dancer says that he was into importing and exporting. And he said he was having problems with my boss. He says, Cassie gave me a couple of $1,000s more. He said to give them my phone number. I did. Cassie called me and asked me for a photo. Then what? She called me to go back. I did for a few hours and then a few times after that. And they asked if Combs was always present, and he said yes. And Comey asked, any other locations? He said Essex House, his residence on 56th Street, I believe 210 at the time, and at her residence on West End Avenue, I think number 10. The prosecution said, what name were you to say when you were there to see? And he said, Black. I would send her vulgar text messages. Like what? You want me to say it? Give an example. I text, I want to F you right now. How often did you use baby oil? Every time. Sean Combs said we didn't have enough baby oil on. He said, y'all slow down, separate from each other. One to have us role play, like we had just met at an airport. We weren't good, so we skipped that. What direction did Mr. Combs? He tell me to step off and back off. How many times, if any, were you told to urinate on Miss Ventura? Defense Xavier Donaldson objects. Remember, he's the new Black lawyer they hired recently. He said, objection suggestive. The judge overruled. The dancer said, they told me not to do it all at once. The defense objects to him saying they, that I've got it. Prosecution said, what happened afterward? He said, they leave me waiting for hours. The whole thing might go on for 10 hours. Yikes. Okay. They were headed to Essex Hotel. They said to go in 30 minutes. It was the first time he opened the door as himself, dressed in a suit, no mask. Comey said, how did things change? He said he didn't feel Combs's Donaldson again objects. Prosecution said, who, if anyone, recorded? The dancer said, Mr. Combs with cell phone and camcorder. He took a photo of my driver's license for insurance, he said. Donaldson objects to that as well. Judge said, focus it. So Comey says, what did you understand? And he answered, he was threatening me. I mean, if he takes a picture of your driver's license and said, this is for insurance, you know what that means. The dancer went on to say, once I went and Cassie was slumped over. He said, it's not going to happen this time. What? Prosecution asked, did Mr. Combs offer you drugs? Oh, he said it's not going to happen because she was too messed up. So they asked if he was offered drugs. The dancer said, Molly, I guess it's called. I don't do drugs. MDA, MH, MDA, I think. I went out and handed out $100 bills. I think I went out and handed out $100 bills. Huh. Prosecution asked, how did the Molly make you feel? He said, sick and euphoric and like an idiot, handing out $100 bills. Comey asked, who else was present? He said, a guy who told me he was an actual escort. He was having sex with Cassie at her apartment. Then the dancer said the guy was like looking at Sean Combs, and Combs said, don't you be effing looking at me. Donaldson objects, Combs' attorney. The judge said, let's get a fresh question. The government said, what did he look like? He said, a black guy, kind of skinny. We exchanged phone numbers. Prosecution asked, have you seen him in 10 years? The dancer said no. They asked, did it ever seem you weren't the first person there? Oh, gosh. He said, yes, half used Astroglide, towels on the floor. So they didn't wear them out, send them on their way, and call another one, a new, fresh worker to come. Oh, my goodness. The government asked, after the $100 bills, did you see them again? And he said, I couldn't do it anymore. So they asked, what did you get paid when you couldn't perform? He said, nothing, but I never asked for money. I was happy to get involved with people with such notoriety. But after I saw Sean Combs hit Cassie, I couldn't do it anymore. Prosecution asked, what was Mr. Combs saying as he met? What was Mr. Combs saying as he meet Cassie? I guess he meant beat Cassie. The dancer said, he said, B, when I tell you to come over, you come over. I didn't know what to do. The prosecution asked, did you intervene? He said, no, I knew that the chances were the bodyguards. Then there's another objection and it's sustained. Prosecution Comey says, what's next? The dancer said, she said, what next? He said, are y'all ready to continue? Said, did you try? He said, I don't recall. Did you see them again? He said, I thought I had developed some sort of friendship with Cassie. I may have been speculating. I went there. I heard him slapping her. He walked out in a towel. She ran to me. I asked, why are you staying with this guy? And Donaldson objects to that. The judge said, on what ground? He said, hearsay. The judge said, overruled. The dancer said, she said it was okay. Wow. USA says nothing further. The judge says break before cross. So they're going to take a break. The reporter notes during the break, the male dancer witness is named Daniel Phillip, not Phillips, as it like. Now it's 4:24 p.m. in the courtroom on the East Coast. The judge says, welcome back. Can I have the lawyers for a sidebar? So they have a small sidebar. The judge said, Mr. Phillip, you are still under oath. And Xavier Donaldson, Combs' lawyer, says, let me show you a text message chain between you and Cassie. Is it accurate? And then Daniel Phillip says yes. So we're going by Phillip now, not dancer. Okay, so Donaldson says, you were working for a service? And he says, a male review show. You were a manager, male strippers for women? He said, yes. Prostitution was prohibited? He said, that's correct. Your job was to build it up? Yes and no. I'll go with yes. objection, and it's sustained. Donaldson asked, did the company open fake businesses to optimize search results? And he said, fake addresses. It was just a SEO. Donaldson said, you went on to optimize the lady's experience? And then he said, I have no idea what you mean. It's just our slogan. Donaldson asked, Cassie told you to say the name Black? He said, yes. Your boss told you someone wanted a black man stripper? He said, yes. Let me show you. The prosecution, this shouldn't be put on the screen. So Donaldson asked them to take it off. He said, take it off, take it off. Combs is, so Donaldson continued, she was wearing a wig? And he said, yes. She handed you money? She handed me $4,000. Before any oil rubbing? Correct. She had on heels and dark glasses. Where'd the money come from? Her hand. Were you wearing a New York City Police Department uniform? You were wearing a New York City Police Department uniform, right? He said, I bought an NYPD t-shirt. You took the oil off in front of Cassie? The oil? No, I took my clothes off. She said, it's my birthday. It appears she's enjoying herself. He said, yes. What was your position? He said, missionary. I was like, did that just happen? Donaldson said, she asked you for a photo? Phillips said, I do not know if Sean Combs asked for it. Judge said, ignore that. The judge said, we'll pick up here tomorrow. He said, the jury is gone. Judge said, Mr. Phillip, no conversations with the government. And then the government said, agents are providing him protection and transport if that's okay. Then there's a sidebar. The judge says, no talk with your lawyer. Huh. So I guess that's it for today, child. That was a lot. Okay, let me come over. What did y'all think about today's arguments and testimony as a whole? Baby Yoda said, great update. Thank you, love. Ray Ray said, guilty as charged. Baby Yoda said, disgusting. Disgusting. Guilty, guilty, guilty is GT's summation. Now, remember, he was up in there reading his Bible before they got started, before they heard, they talked about all his dirty, nasty behaviors. Let me just pull up a couple of things before we end this one today.
All right, I think they said you're supposed to be in this motherfucker.
So this is Armand Wiggins talking to Jaguar Wright outside the courtroom.
So I'm up in this motherfucker.
You here? Wow, they done brought everybody. How are you?
Show. Here we
Okay,
are.
oh, you got this of security too? Oh, wow, Jaguar came with security too.
So Channel 7 ABC News rolled up.
This first and foremost, I mean, this is, the day of this trial. Again, just like it comes, what are you feeling, what are you experiencing right now? How important is it for you to be here?
Paramount. There needs to be someone here who's been here all along. I've been waiting for this moment for 5 years, and here we are. And I'm praying that everyone remembers there are survivors, real life survivors. And I hope that everyone takes into account how necessary a true verdict, a just verdict now, 25 years of hurt. And praying that God's just going to do what he told me he's going to do. So I hope we're all just staying in vigilant prayer for everyone on all sides of this. These are human issues, and we need to have real human response and emotion.
Do you plan to be here every day? I mean, during the trial, we're expected to be.
I'm going to be.
Have you spoken with anyone who might be possibly testifying, or have you spoken with anybody?
That I cannot say, but what I say is my prayers for Al B. Shore are being answered day by day. From the moment that we found out he flatlined to the moment we found out he came back. I'm here vigilant for that. Justice for Kim Porter. Support for Cassie.
We got Jaguar right at.
Well, there you have it. She's so poised in front of that news camera. Yeah, so I think everything I already had said, we just covered in court. Another angle of them coming to court, the family.
Lisa, how are you? It's TMZ here, sorry. Well, you look great nonetheless. It's good to see you.
Why are they saying you look great nonetheless? And she on a walker. And the way she's dressed, is like I said, Misa Hilton is known to be a style icon, child. She came into the game in the 90s, dressing all of our then favorite artists, Mary J. Blige, Lil' Kim. But here, I mean, I guess, this is the courthouse and she's obviously injured, but it just seems a little grandma-ish. And what's going on with the walker? I really want to know what the hell happened. Somebody said she's there because he abused her too. Somebody said, girl, the theatrics are an all-time high. Somebody said Mary J must have got a hold of her. Remember, I reported, or you may have seen, she and Mary J. Blige are in a lawsuit. She sued Mary J with the rapper Vado. Says she tried to basically sabotage their business deals. Yeah, people say Misa's putting on a show. I don't know what y'all think.
Don't block her way. If she needs to walk, create a space. He said, if you don't mind me asking.
Gotta give us some more space.
He said, if you don't mind me asking, what happened? You look good. Everything okay with you? Well, you look good.
What's going on?
Give her space.
Clear that. Stay back. Yes, thank you.
She okay. So what she's showing us that she's in a really bad way. I mean, she can barely move, child. And is that important to be at court today? Is that important for you to show your support for this man to come, even though you are so injured, like you're literally making a spectacle of yourself? I think this is crazy. And I hope more comes out about this. I don't know what the hell to think, because it doesn't make Diddy at all. I'm wondering, did she try to not come and she got told you are coming? And by the way they told her, she's now having to use a walker, child. Of course, this is just me and my whole imagination, but I'm just saying, like, why are you coming out like this? Let's see, what else do I have here about this circus? Now we know that Drewski, made the reporter came out. I guess she was doing her own research, or somebody passed her the research that Drewski was not in California when supposedly he was named in that lawsuit with Diddy and that football player. What's his name? I can't think. But nevertheless, I think Jaguar Wright was named in that suit as well. Well, now he is demanding sanctions against the accuser's attorneys. And one of those attorneys is Ariel Mitchell, the lady who was representing some of the other victims who came out previously, as well as the guy, Courtney, who had said that he had Kim Porter's book on that thumb drive, the one that had to go see the grand jury about the thumb drive that supposedly had these videos and all this stuff. And we haven't seen hair nor hide of this guy since he was supposedly asked back to the grand jury, and nor has she come out to publicly say anything. I did see her tweet that Diddy wanted her on his team real bad. I don't know if that's true, but we do know he wanted some black folks, and now he has a new black male and female attorney on his team. But nevertheless, just saying that Drewski is now asking for sanctions or some type of punishment against the attorneys accusing him of the R word. Yeah, they said he jumped on that lady like a slip and slide. Well, this was supposedly coming from her. He said he was in Georgia at the time, 3,000 miles away. He said living paycheck to paycheck. And see, I don't think he realizes emphasizing how poor he was at the time does not make him look any less guilty. It actually makes you look more guilty, in my opinion. Let me just make sure. Now, this guy, Jonathan Oddie, I've been talking about him. I'm not sure if he's going to come up in this trial or not, but stories have been coming out about him as of recently. I think there was another court appearance that was missed on his behalf. And people are wondering, do the feds have him in hiding? He claims Diddy gave him $5 million to sign an NDA to cover up him and his, the S worker assignments that he had with Cassie and Diddy. And they say that after he supposedly got that $5 million, he went and bought a bunch of property. So it could very well be true that he was paid to stay quiet. But now he seems to be MIA, and it's very odd. One thing I do find interesting about today's proceeding is what the fact that in the opening arguments, some of the details had come out about the abuse against Cassie and Jane. And I'm wondering, is Jane Young Miami? Who is Jane at this point? I think that's all I got for y'all now. It's an hour and a half. I think we're doing good for today. But we will be back tomorrow. Let me give you a heart from Diddy's hands to your eyes. Yeah, I'm going to leave it here today, y'all. Let's see. Drew T said the lawyer's skin color won't help him, please. I know. Ray said, I hope Votto didn't put a Misa on the cane. Well, they supposed to be on the same side, unless you mean, in a good way, he put her on that cane. I know what you're saying, though. She needs to sit this out. Shamina said, you talking about Jaguar? Jaguar is like, oh, this is my time to shine, honey. Oh, I wanted to show you real quick, though. Tisa Tells, like I said, she's there at the courthouse. I wanted to show you how she described Diddy trying to act like that he looked like old man River. And he was trying to make himself look super old, but then he would break character by different things that he clearly forgetting that he's supposed to be playing like a fragile old man. This is what she said he looked like. Let me make sure you can see this. This had me laughing.
Listen, I just want to say this. I took so many details, but this was Diddy. Hold on really quick. Let me show y'all. Hold on. Can y'all see me? Okay. So here's a normal person walking. And here's the way Diddy was walking. Yes. That is the way that man was moving, trying to convince us that he is frail. Nobody believed it, but it was yet and still what he was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Who else sent me a super chat? La.
So yeah, Diddy put it on all the extras, child, trying to make it look like he's just that old and that frail and feeble. I don't think that's gonna work. And we're gonna see what's gonna happen. This thing is moving like the freight train. The judge said it was, child. That judge is not lying. And do you know also there's a story on TMZ about the judge talking about how he paid for a client's meal, which is nothing wrong with that. And the fact that TMZ got stories trying to come out on the judge, and TMZ, as Harvey Levin, has a podcast with the Garagos' father. What's his name? Mark Garagos, Two Angry Men. Yeah, they have a podcast together. So, Mark Garagos is clearly on the side of Diddy, being that his daughter is one of his lead defense attorneys. And I think it's crazy that they were allowing this man, Mark Garagos, in the courtroom as if he was part of the defense when he wasn't legit signed on as one of his attorneys. Let me see what I saved this for a reason.
But it has ebbed and flowed like everything else in the criminal justice system. This is a potentially a watershed moment for what is happening in the criminal justice system. I'm very anxious to be part of it. I'm very anxious to watch it play out. There's some really good work that gets done at this level for these kinds of things. And I think we talked about this, or we touched about this, if not in connection with the brothers, but in something else. What people don't realize is that
was something you said, though, which is
they're talking about the Menendez brothers right there. But
please,
that you did a few documentaries all about the prosecution. I think that the public and the media have gotten nearly every fact wrong about what the prosecution's case is here. So I just want to take one issue with that. There's no minors, there's no celebrity sex tapes. The civil lawsuits here are not driving the allegations that we're defending against, but it is driving the vitriol against him in the media.
Okay, well, we're going to have to see if she's telling us the truth. Oh, you guys didn't have this is Tenny Garagos. She's saying there's no sex tapes, there's no children, none of the things we've been hearing in the media is true about the case. There's no celebrity sex tape, she said, but yet there's over 100 celebrity names on the jury questionnaire to ask if people could be fair. And for some reason, these people's names aren't being brought up for nothing. So I don't know. I'm not saying they're on any freak off tapes. I'm just saying she's trying to downplay the sensationalism behind these charges. And she clearly must be forgetting that Kid Cudi, who is an artist, he's not a famous household name artist, but he's a known artist if you know hip hop. And he's a witness saying that there was arson, kidnapping, assault with deadly weapons, or use of deadly weapons for the assault and the arson. So it's not nothing to sneeze at.
I'm going to highlight something because this one drives me crazy because I read what the prosecution files and I read the indictment. And if you read the indictment, there's no allegation of sex with minors. There's no allegations of A-list celebrities. There are the new super indictment lists 3 so-called victims. I like to call them complaining witnesses. But isn't that right, Tenny?
No, that's absolutely right. There's no minors here. There's no celebrity sex tapes. There are a lot of stories in the media about lawsuits. There's been a flurry of lawsuits in the past 2 days because of an expiring statute, essentially, which is.
So she said this before. So this was 2 months ago. This is before the last superseding indictment where they were all up in arms about the fact that if this got out, that he would be deemed guilty as charged just by the charges because they were so egregious. And I do think that there were some minors involved, and they were sealed filings, heavily redacted motions. And so she's speaking, I think, right here, too early, too soon, and out of turn. And that is my opinion. But I will going to be here to eat my words if necessary. And of course, make any corrections that need to be made once the information becomes very clear, and we can go from there. But in the meantime, and in between time, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you come back tomorrow. I will be back, and we're going to go with technically day 6, but day 2 of, the testimony is going, child. The train, it's a freight train, and ain't nothing stopping it. Okay, that's coming from the judge himself. All right, peace and love, y'all. Till next time, bye.